you want to be careful. Okay. They still bubbling in the jars, you know they're hot. Hello everybody and welcome back to Louisiana Homestead. Today I'm going to be getting ready to can some beans, and I'm going to put them soaking tonight, and then I'll can them in the morning. So let me show you what I'm going to do to get them prepared to soak them. I have these 2 jars that a friend gave me. They're about a gallon size jar, I would say, each one. I'm going to be using these red beans. This is a 2-pound bag of red beans. I'm going to put one into each of these jars. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any rocks or anything like that in my beans. I'm actually going to put some water in them and wash them and make sure I don't have any bad beans in here. And I'm going to do that also with my other bag of beans as well. So I've got the water to about here on them. What I've did is put about 3.5 times the amount of water as I have of beans there. What I have is about 3 times the amount of water as I do beans, and I left some area for them to swell because these beans are going to swell up. I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar into each one. I guess a couple of tablespoons. I always do that when I can my beans. It seems to help with the acid reduction in them somehow. They don't seem to give me indigestion as bad when I do them like this before I can them. And also tomorrow when I cook them, I'm going to change this water out, and I'm going to put a little bit of baking soda in them when I pre-cook them before I can them. So these are just going to sit overnight. I'll just cover them with these pans to keep any bugs out of them overnight. They soaked overnight. You can see the difference of how they've come up in the water. They did swell some. I'm going to strain these off. You remember I had vinegar in this water, so I'm going to rinse these off and get them into my other pot. Get these from the bottom of here. Alright, that's good. Just going to rinse them off real good. And then they're going to go into this pot here, which is basically a big soup pot, basically. Now I'm going to cover these with water and add in a little baking soda. I'm also going to add some canning salt in with this as well. And I'm going to put in some cayenne pepper. I haven't added any oil into it. It's just what you've seen me put. And I'm going to let these cook. Once they come up to a boil, I'm going to let them cook for 30 minutes. While I'm waiting on my beans to cook, what I'm going to do is use that time to get my canning stuff ready. I need to get my canner ready. I need to make sure my jars are out and clean, and that I have my lids ready that I need for this project. So what I'm going to do first is get my canner ready. This is an all-American canner that I use. This goes in the bottom of it every time. You put that in the bottom. What that does is it keeps a little space between the bottom of your drawers and that burner. So you put that in, and then I'm going to be putting about 2.5 to 3 inches of water in the bottom of this pot. I'm going to place it on the largest burner I have. And I'm going to turn that on so that it can start heating up. While that's heating, I want to check my lid. I want to check this steam vent to make sure that I can see light through it. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do is use some olive oil on a paper towel. And I'm going to oil the rim of this canner, the top of it, where the lid fits onto it. Also, I'm going to oil the outside rim of the lid itself. Now my canner is in good shape and ready to go. I need to get some jars and make sure they're clean and ready to put some beans into. Now I don't have to sanitize these jars like I normally would do with a water bath, because in pressure canning the heat's going to be high enough to kill anything that's on these jars, but they do need to be clean. They don't, you don't want to use dirty jars, of course. So I'm going to get my jars. It'll hold 7 quarts, so I'm going to get me 7 quarts cleaned up and ready to go. Okay, you can see these are starting to heat up. The water's starting to move a little bit. I want to stir them, make sure we don't have any sticking issues. Okay, these are the jars. I just want to run my finger across them and make sure that I don't have any chips on any of them. So once I realize that none of them are chipped, I'm going to go on ahead and give them a good rinsing. These are pretty good. I'm just going to rinse them out and set them on side of my pot and get them ready to fill up. I've got my jars cleaned and lined up. I got a little funnel to help me get them in there. I got a little ladle to help me get them out of the pot and into the jars. I have some bands, which these are used. That's perfectly fine. You can reuse these. I have some lids. They're brand new. You need brand new ones for them to seal properly. And I got a little bowl of vinegar here to wipe off my lids after I get my stuff in there and ready to put these on. To wipe my rims off with, rather. I have a clean paper towel to use in my vinegar, and I have a debubbler that's just going to go down in the jar to get any air bubbles out once the beans are in there. So I have everything I need right here, ready to go. My beans are boiling now, so I need to time them for 30 minutes. Now I'm not going to actually boil them hard for 30 minutes. Now that they're actually boiling, I'm going to turn them down a little, and they're actually going to simmer on a low to medium heat for 30 minutes. I like having canned beans on hand because it's just so easy to prepare a meal in a short amount of time when you have them like this. Usually if I would be cooking beans like I used to, it would take me all day to cook a pot of beans, or it would take me several hours at least, and I would have had to stay at the stove stirring and tending to them. This way I'm gonna have 7 quarts of them, and I only have to put in the cooking amount of time once. So this is going to be a lot better, a lot more convenient for me. It's going to be like fast food for us, and I know what's in it because I'm canning it right here myself. I have my kettle on with some water in it just in case I need it for extra in my jars. I'll have it nice and hot. This has been cooking for almost 30 minutes, and all this foam stuff you see on the top, I'm going to skim all that off and get that out of there before I put these beans into my jars. I need to start getting my beans into my jars. So I'm going to turn these off. And I'm going to start getting them into these jars. not going to be filling the jar all the way up. It's only going to be filled to about the shoulder of the jar. And then I'm going to come back with my water over the top of that, about an inch over the top of the beans. Because the beans will swell even more when they're processing. So that, what you see there, that's about where I want my beans to, about to where that shoulder starts on that jar. I am using the juice that I cooked the beans in. If I run out of that juice, I have some kettle water to make up that difference. Okay, that's good. And I'm just going to top these off with some of this kettle water. Like I said, I want to go about an inch over those beans, so I'm going to bring my water up to about here. Normally you would put salt in, but I put salt in mine while they were cooking. Then you would go back through with your little tool here and make sure any bubbles that are down there trapped, that you would get those out. And I've already gone through all of those actually. And you just want to dip your clean paper towel into some white vinegar and go over each one of your rims, because you don't want anything, any little bean juice or salt or anything that's not supposed to be on that rim. You want to get all that off so that you'll get a good seal. Even though we used a funnel, there's a possibility that some of that bean juice got on there. Look at that. Even though I used a funnel, I'm still getting some of that off. So you need to, it's very important to go back and clean your rims, or those jars won't seal. And you've done all that hard work and messed up by not just doing this one simple step. So make sure you go back over your jars. Even, you see I cleaned them a while ago and came up with some gunk, so I'm going to go back over them again just to make sure that I catch everything. And then once I have them all cleaned up, then I can come back and put my lids on them. See, I felt a little something rough right there. You usually can feel it if you have a sensitive touch. See, I still got a little bit of stuff off of there. Okay, I think we're good now. Now that I feel like my rims are nice and clean, I can come back with my new lids. You would definitely want to use new lids every time for canning, so that you get a good, when you want a good seal, you definitely want to use a new lid. The bands, like I said, you can reuse those. And you just want to put them hand tight. These jars are hot. Okay. So I'm going to go through each one of them and get these lids on here. Or bands, rather. And I know that my canner is right. I've checked all that ahead of time. So I'm going to get this lid off of here. I've been having it on there holding the heat for me. And I'm going to start setting my jars down in there. I'm going to use this little tool to help me. Just to help me from getting burned. It's very hot stuff. You know, you want to be careful. You don't have any accidents. So take your time. Don't be in a rush when you're canning. You're dealing with some hot surfaces, some hot liquids, and you don't want to have an accident. You don't want to get burned, and you don't have to if you just take your time. That's the main thing. Take your time so you're not clanging your jars up against the side of the pot or anything else in the kitchen. make sure you got that is gripped on there underneath that lip so that you have a good grip. All right, there they are. They're just beneath the rims. You don't cover them with water when you're doing pressure cooking. So now I'm ready to put my lid back on there. And I always put this label facing me so I can read it again if I need to, but also because this little notch here helps me to line my lid up. Also, let me show you. See that little arrow? That goes that's what's supposed to line up with that little notch there. See that? That helps tell you that you have the lid on right. And also I have my pressure gauge facing me where I can read it. So the next thing is to go on ahead and lock all these down. What I like to do is make sure I have the equal amount of space between each one of these sections. You see that? And I'll go from opposite sides when I'm tightening these down. Now the manual tells me that I cannot strip these, so I can tighten them good. I don't have to worry about over tightening them. I can tighten them down good. And I'm just going to make sure that I have that space in between these things even. So I'm checking that as I go to see that those are even. Now, do they have to be extremely even? No, but they need to be eyeball even. I'm just eyeballing this. Now, I'm not tightening this so hard that I can't open it. I'm not that strong. I'm just tightening it very good. Very snug, in other words. Okay, there we go. So it's tightened down. I'm just going to be bringing the heat up on that now. I'm going to put it on high. I'm going to be waiting for a steady stream of steam to be coming out of this little nozzle right here. I did have a little bit of beans left in my pot, not much, but what I'll do is I'll take those in and finish cooking them. Now that I've got my steam coming out, I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's a steady stream of steam coming out of there now. So it's time for me to put my pressure gauge on there. For me, this little thing is marked. It's got a 15, a 5, and a 10 on it. It depends on your altitude for which one you'll choose. For me, I'll choose 10. So put that on there, and the first time it jiggles, I'm going to start timing it. But it's not going to jiggle until this thing gets up to at least 10 or 11 pounds of pressure. So I got a little while. I can do something else while I'm waiting. But I'm not going to walk off and leave this canner alone. I'm going to be in here babysitting this just to monitor it. So when I hear that first jiggle, I'm going to start timing it, and I'm also going to turn my heat down on this. I've got it on high right now. I'm going to be slowly turning it down. You see how it's more high, 8, 7, and 6 here? You see how I have this one marked? That's because I can so much. That's about the perfect spot. But right now, while I'm waiting for this weight to jiggle, I'm going to leave it on high so it'll jiggle quick as possible. And then when that happens and I start timing it, then I'll start slowly turning that dial down until I get it to that spot that I want, until I can hear that jiggle do from 1 to 4 times in a minute, because that's what it's supposed to do. And also I'll be watching this dial to make sure that I'm in the 10, 11, 12 area. You want to watch that needle so it doesn't go over this area into this caution area for sure, which I've never had that happen to me, but I have had to adjust the heat before. The first time I ever canned, I was scared to death. I didn't know what this canner was going to do. I'm talking about pressure canning. I didn't know what to expect. I had heard stories and I was kind of scared, quite frankly. But since I've been doing it a while, I'm not as frightened of it, and I know now that you just have to watch it and kind of know what you're doing, follow the safety precautions that comes with your canner, and it's fine. So I mean, I've done canned now all kinds of beans. I've canned potatoes the other day. I've canned okra like this. So I've canned meat. I've canned a lot of different things in the pressure canner, so I've become more comfortable with it. It's just that first time or two that I used it, I did have a time with it because I was scared. But you get over it. The more you do it and the more you realize you're following the safety precautions, then you feel more safe and more confident in doing it. So I'm glad I got it. I'm really very glad that I have it, and I'm glad that I learned how to use it, because I've gotten a lot of good use out of it. And I have a lot of good pantry items stored up now because of it. So I do like it. I've also gotten to know this little canning book that came with my canner. I've read it from cover to cover, and it's got all the safety information in it. It's got all the information about how to can any kind of vegetable or meat that you can think of. So all the information is right here. The safety information, the maintenance information, the canning information, all of it is right here in this little book. I'm not affiliated with this company in any way. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm just sharing what I've learned with you. This is the canner that I purchased, and that's the one I use, so that's the one I know a little bit about. But I guarantee you my main thing to tell you would be to get to know whatever canner you have. Get the manual out and read it front to back. It's been about 10 minutes, and as you can see, the steam coming from around that weight, it's starting to jiggle. So I would say that you see how it's turning a little bit. Okay, there's its first jiggle right there, what you just saw. So I'm going to start my timer, and for the beans, the 7 quarts of beans that I have in there, I'm supposed to time them for 90 minutes. So I'm going to start my timer now, and I'm going to reduce that heat now as well. So I have my timer set for 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is 90 minutes. So I got that started. Gonna turn this down to about the 8, because I want it to come down nice and slow, because that's jiggling a little too much. But as I told you, that number is on the 10, it's on about the 11 or 12 right there, which that's okay. But I want to take this down a little bit, and I'll take my time and do that probably over it'll take a little time. I'll just keep turning it down every few minutes until I hear 1 to 4 jiggles per minute. Now that I've got it adjusted perfectly, this is what it looks like. It stops for a little while and it jiggles for a little while. And my pressure is staying around 10 to 12 pounds. See how it stops for a little bit and then it starts for a little bit. That's just right. And I've got it on that mark that I have made on my stove. Now everybody's stove is going to be different, so you can't just go by mine. And I would recommend you watch a lot of videos on pressure canning also before you try it. Not that it's so hard or difficult, but just to make you more comfortable with it. It'll answer a lot of your questions. I've reached the 90-minute mark, so now I can turn off my canner. It's not time to open the canner because the pressure is still up in it. So I have to wait until this pressure comes down from 12 all the way down to 0. It's going to take a good while. It's going to take about 40 minutes for this pressure to come down. And I'm not going to remove this until it does. I can take my jiggler off now. My pressure is all the way down to 0. I got my weight off. I'm going to wait 2 minutes before I unscrew these. And I'm just going to tilt this off to the side and let some of that steam come out of there. I'm going to leave it like that for a couple of minutes just so I don't have much siphoning on my jars, and then I'll remove them. I'm going to remove my lid now. It's been about 10 minutes. I'm going ahead and get these jars out of here. Try to place them to where there's a little bit of space in between them on this countertop, so they can cool. Make sure you grab that jar under that lip so you got plenty good grip there. Okay. They still bubbling in the jars, you know they're hot. So I'm just gonna let those cool. All the jars sealed, all the little buttons are pressed down, every one of them sealed, so that's good. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll wipe them all down, the jars, the lids, everything, and then I'll put them in my pantry. You might notice that some of them, like this one, some of the beans are out of the water. That's perfectly fine as long as the jar is sealed. What happened was some of it siphoned out. It does happen sometimes. It's not a big deal though. My beans are still good as long as they remain sealed. This concludes our video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned a little something, and I hope that you'll give canning a try. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye.